Good morning. Welcome to the Weather Desk. It's Tuesday. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller here in the 13 News Now studios. And you may have found us on 13 News Now Plus, but you may also be watching on YouTube. We're happy to have you. However you found the Weather Desk, each and every morning around 9 a.m. Eastern, we start with a half an hour dedicated to today's top weather headlines. And we've got a jam-packed show today. Let's talk about what we're going to be covering today. Winter storm aftermath. There's a shock. You have this massive storm, that frozen kind of precip axis spanning over 1,700 miles. It was an incredibly large storm, and you could bet there's a lot to cover just in terms of what folks are still dealing with. And there has been many places still without power. We've got ice. We've got different things going on. And an important message here, we want to stress you take no chances on what you may perceive as frozen ponds or bodies of water. This is specifically for the local areas, Southeast Virginia and Northeast North Carolina, but it really goes to say other areas that you don't see that typical hard freeze. You might think, oh, look, it's frozen. I can get out on it. That ice may not be safe to deal with. And we've got a tragic story out of Henrico County. So we just stress folks do not mess around on what you think are frozen ponds, as the ice, I know for Southeast Virginia and Northeast North Carolina, it's not thick enough. It's not hard enough. And those temperatures have been kind of borderline. We have been very cold this morning, so we're getting more freezing out there of those bodies of water, but it can create a very dangerous situation. All right, we've got winter weather, not just the downside of it, but for many folks, it's provided a lot of fun. And we'll show you some of how folks have been enjoying the winter weather. A lot of businesses in parts of the country impacted, schools shut down, kids getting out and able to play in it. There's been some good stories as well. We also have more cold air settling in over much of the eastern U.S. We're going to talk about that and why that's really playing in to the situation this weekend. There is the likelihood of a developing area of low pressure that may become a pretty significant nor'easter for the mid-Atlantic up through the northeast U.S., and it could produce some heavier snow here in Hampton Roads, North Carolina, and areas to the north as well. So I'll show you what the models are showing. We'll talk about the trends. We'll talk about what we know and what we don't know. The time on this is still looking Saturday into Saturday night and early Sunday, but there are still some ways that things could change. We're not necessarily calling for this amount of snow or that amount of snow, but I can say the models are pointing towards a significant winter storm this weekend for the mid-Atlantic and maybe parts of the Northeast as well. So those are the topics we're going to jump into. We will start off with the aftermath. And again, so much snow covering so much of the country. Of course, this stuff out over the mountains has been there for a while, but this is the new fresh snowfall. A lot of this from this big winter storm. And then, of course, they've had more snow up in the Northeast as well. Right now, thousands of people across the South are entering day 4 without power after a massive ice storm. So far, at least 30 deaths nationwide have been linked to the storm, and sadly, that number is rising. Here's ABC's Lionel Moise.
This morning, the death toll rising after the winter storm that left behind 2,000 miles of freezing rain, snow, and ice. And now a heartbreaking reminder of how dangerous the conditions can be. The small city of Bonham, Texas, mourning the loss of 3 siblings who drowned in an icy pond. The school superintendent saying, "We are devastated by this unimaginable loss." Ice taking down huge trees across the South. Mississippi's governor now deploying 500 National Guardsmen.
It is possible that those numbers will go up.
In Oxford, utility crews were pulled back and a shelter in place was ordered over fears of falling trees. Tennessee also activating the National Guard and opening warming centers amid concerns about vulnerable people. The concern for power crews, trees falling again after power has been restored.
Almost everyone here is without power. You can see this large tree. It came crashing down. It snapped and brought some power lines down with it.
Some areas have been without power since Saturday during this days-long stretch of bitter cold. On the roads, a big rig crashing in the slick conditions, bringing down this overhead sign. And back in Texas, volunteers with the United Cajun Navy bringing food, doing welfare checks, and looking for dangerous black ice on rural roads.
As somebody in Texas, we don't deal with ice. We don't deal with this. And it was me running, a few people, making sure that everyone was taken care of.
In Fort Worth, firefighters braving conditions to get this man to safety.
His safety, making sure he was good. That's the only thing I was thinking of. Let's get him to the top. He's on my shoulder crying.
19 states saw more than a foot of snow in the storm, and now the mid-Atlantic and Northeast are bracing for a possible coastal storm this coming weekend. Some homeowners also bracing for a spike in heating costs. Natural gas prices just hit their highest level in 3 years. Lionel Moyes, ABC News, New York.
All right, Lionel, thank you for that report. As we look nationally, again, things much quieter now compared to what we dealt with through the weekend. There are still some areas with some lake effect snow, some snow coming off Lake Michigan, a little bit up around Lake Superior and Huron here. As you take a look at Erie and Ontario, not as much, but there are still a few bands of lake effect there as well. They've had tremendous amounts of snow over portions of upstate New York and back into Vermont and New Hampshire. Want to turn our attention back here to the Commonwealth for a moment and talk to you about the temperatures. And specifically, I want to talk to you about the temperatures here around Richmond and up towards Charlottesville. Some very cold conditions over the last 12 hours. And this morning, we are down into the teens. We've got some really sad news to report from Central Virginia. A toddler has died after being found in an icy pond. Emergency responders in Henrico County found the little boy unconscious in that pond yesterday afternoon. He was given CPR at the scene and rushed to a hospital where he died. A man was also treated at that scene for possible hypothermia. The circumstances surrounding the toddler's death are under investigation. Now, tragedies like these do serve as an important reminder for families this winter. You take a look at our temperatures, as cold as they've been, and they have been below average. We had that one day near 60, the last several days, colder weather, but you see these temperatures have been pretty borderline here. We are getting much colder overnight lows, and that's creating frozen surfaces. While water may look frozen, it could be far from safe. Patrick Gray spoke to firefighters about the dangers of walking on ice.
With cold weather coming in this week, the water that you see behind me may freeze over. And while it may look like a fun opportunity for children to play on the ice, officials at the Chesapeake Fire Department stress the dangers that the ice could bring, and that temperatures will not drop low enough to help support weight. They say that only a few seconds in the freezing cold water could be fatal.
I mean, we all like to have fun on the ice and in the snow, but around here, again, it's just not safe to get on the ice.
Chesapeake Fire Captain Stephen Bradley understands why frozen waterways would be fun for a child, although the threat of falling through is very real and almost certain.
There is no safe ice. We don't want anyone in the public making that assumption.
Bradley says that once you've fallen in, it only takes seconds before you start feeling the effects.
You really start to lose muscle function and the ability to breathe within seconds.
Falling through doesn't only put yourself in danger, but the first responders too, as Chief Keith Sneed from Virginia Beach Marine Rescue tells us.
It doesn't happen very often, but when it does happen, it is a very risky call for us to go into because it's not something we deal with very often. So yeah, it is very dangerous for us to enter that water, but we are prepared, like I said, with the gear that we have and the training that we do in the water.
Officials say that if you do see somebody fall into the ice, to not go in after them, but to try and find a rope or use a sweatshirt to help pull them to safety. In Chesapeake, I'm Patrick Gray, 13 News Now.
All right, we're going to take a very quick break, just 2 minutes, and coming up, we're going to have a closer look at how some folks have enjoyed their snow days across the country, and some folks, they have been having fun with it. We've got some fun stuff to share, but how about more snow for the weekend? There's a chance. We're going to talk about a developing coastal low and how that could bring some heavy snow to the region. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller. All right, we talked about snow cover across the country, but I want to talk about some places where, again, it's really unusual for them to get heavy snow on the ground. And you can see some of these areas still with a lot of snow on the ground. Parts of Tennessee, for example, down into Texas, they've seen some heavy snow across Arkansas, southern Missouri, and into Kentucky. Well, obviously, a major winter storm can be a huge nuisance for drivers and homeowners, and it can present a lot of trouble, but it's also producing some pretty memorable sights. Check this out. A photographer in Tennessee captured these incredible photographs of a tree that split nearly perfectly down the middle in 4 different directions. Now, it happened in Hendersonville, about 30 minutes to the north of Nashville, and that split was likely just due to the weight of snow on the 4 different parts of the branches. It kind of split out a little bit, and then they simultaneously came crashing down with that heavy ice and snow buildup on those limbs. Also in Tennessee, a group of kids in Memphis spent the day playing in the snow and building an igloo. As you can see, they made individual bricks to create it. Pretty good job there, guys. And we used to have those up in Michigan as well, where we would make our bricks and make like a true igloo. Finally, in Texas, a little snow skiing through the neighborhood. Yeah, why not, right? When you got that kind of snow. One woman took advantage of it. She decided to ski on the sleet-covered roads in the neighborhood. That video was taken in Austin. Now, a little closer to home, down in North Carolina, they also spent time outside once this winter system passed. Elsa Gillis has a look at the snow day in Charlotte.
There's nothing like a snow or ice day to bring out the inner child in us all. Some people across our area made the most of what Mother Nature brought in. So Chopper 9 Sky Zoom took to the skies to see what this winter storm left behind. You can see colorful coats and sleds dotting this Salisbury Hill, and kids piling on snow tubes, out enjoying the slippery conditions. We captured this driver having some fun doing donuts on an ATV in Mooresville. We saw a lot of progress on roads, but snowplows are still out there hard at work, as ice and snow still covers many rooftops and roads, especially north of the Queen City. But flying through Mint Hill in Charlotte, we could see how much the sun has melted away. Bank of America Stadium is still thawing out, with some parts of the field covered in ice. And while I-77 in the city looks clear, beware of icy patches.
All right, so some folks able to take advantage of the snow and have a great time, but the snow has been a problem for a lot of folks. We've talked about that, and the roads have been top of mind for drivers in the Washington, D.C. area where they had quite a bit of snow. Check it out. Several drivers got stuck in the snow. No fun there. And while trying to navigate the snow and ice yesterday, some were left having to dig themselves out. And it wasn't just D.C. drivers struggling in nearby Northern Virginia. State police say they had to respond to nearly 60 crashes during and after the storm. So, again, a lot of fun for some places, and other places really dealing with a lot of headaches, as you would imagine. All right, I currently want to take a quick look up in Williamsburg, and this is courtesy of colonialwilliamsburg.org. The sun is shining. You'll notice the snow still on the grassy areas, some of the side roads. It looks like the roads there, the streets, are getting drier, but there's still some ice over on the side. So you do need to be very careful out there as you're going out and about your business. Some of the inland areas still have some icy patches. It is a sunny day right now. The satellite and radar images showing clear conditions, clear skies, and obviously a clear radar sweep. Temperatures this morning really cold, still in the teens and low 20s. You step outside and you got to be bundled up, no doubt about that. Wind chills this morning have been down into the single digits. Wakefield, Suffolk, Newport News still there. It is 10 now in Elizabeth City, Currituck. 11 is the current feels like temperature in Norfolk and Hampton. Feels like 12 degrees in Virginia Beach. With the single digit wind chills, that is cold enough to prompt a cold weather advisory. And we get that when you have extremely cold air creating an inconvenience to life. For Hampton roads, it specifically when those feels like temperatures or wind chills get 10 degrees or lower, that's when they issue the cold weather advisory. We had one this morning. We were down in the single digits, starting to warm up a little bit. I think we're going to see more periods throughout this week with those feels like temperatures getting down into single digits. And again, the potential hazards, frostbite, frost nip, which is the onset of the frostbite, or hypothermia, all those things a concern. That's why you really need to limit your exposure to those cold, bitter cold wind chills and air temperatures. Now, the wind chills through the afternoon are going to get up into the mid-20s, and while that is very cold, at least it's not the single digits. We will enjoy a lot of sunshine. That's going to be nice. Mainly clear and chilly overnight, and as I mentioned, it's going to be cold for a long time. Look out over the next 10 days. We're going to see temperatures tomorrow, low 30s, close to 30, maybe 31 on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Potential for wintry weather here, another round, and then temperatures gradually warming into the low 40s. But I will say this. These temperatures, again, the outlook, the general thinking here with some of the modeling over the next 10 days, if that heavier snow comes to fruition, that may knock these temperatures back a little bit, especially Monday into Tuesday. I think eventually we'll get back up a little bit. But we are in for a cold stretch of weather, and it goes beyond this 10-day outlook. We can look at 8 to 14 days, and you'll notice the mid-Atlantic right here from basically Hampton Roads up through southern parts of New Jersey over to Pennsylvania, in the Philly area, Delaware, Maryland, those areas all targeted to be well below average for the coming 14 days. It is just a really, really cold stretch, warmer out to the west. We're going to take a look at the setup for the weekend and the chances for some wintry weather. So right now, again, not a lot going on. The southern half of the country basically precip free, maybe a couple little flurries back over the mountains there in New Mexico. We've seen a little bit over Colorado, a few light sprinkles for the Pacific Northwest, little snow moving along with a little frontal boundary right there, and then we've got the snow exiting the northeast. Again, most of the country pretty quiet right now, except for a few little pockets of light flurries and a little bit of lake effect. So that's it. We'll catch our breath right now, but that cold air is in place. Look at these temperatures right now. Minneapolis, 4 degrees below zero in Bismarck, 8 degrees in Cleveland. Very, very cold. Wichita at 5, 22 in Albuquerque, Dallas, Little Rock, 17 in Atlanta. What happened to Hotlanta? Even Orlando, 38 degrees. You get temperatures down into the 30s in Florida, and that leads to other issues as well. So this very cold air mass is with us, and it's going to stay cold as we look forward. Take a look at this Arctic air spilling on down across the east and southeast U.S. It's going to be very, very chilly for the coming week and into the weekend, that Arctic air in place. Now, this sets up the potential for some wintry weather as a developing coastal low is going to throw some moisture back at the coast. The futurecast is pretty straightforward here, going through the day today. A lot of sunshine here in the mid-Atlantic, beautiful across the southern U.S. You just don't see much going on there. And really, even the northeast kind of quiets down. Still a little bit of flurry activity or light snow showers around the Great Lakes. You can see a little unsettled weather here, northern Utah, say the Salt Lake Valley, up through Ogden, and you head up towards Logan. You get up into Idaho and Montana. You pick up some snow there, and then some more moisture coming into the Pacific Northwest. California in good shape, the southwest U.S. in pretty good shape as well. That's through Thursday morning, and then looking ahead to later Thursday, again, this moisture offshore. We don't have our next storm system together yet at this point, but it's what happens after that that is really going to require a lot of focus over the coming days. A coastal low is likely to take shape really as we get into early Saturday, but maybe Friday into Saturday. It's classic snow pattern, big snow pattern for the mid-Atlantic region. What I'm talking about, cold air in place. I just showed you that Arctic air is going to be firmly entrenched over the eastern U.S. Now, with that cold air in place, the question becomes how much moisture gets thrown back towards the coast. You can see this is one of the models here with that low really strengthening and throwing a lot of moisture, snow, or that moisture comes into the cold air and produces snow here. And as it tracks along, that area of snow moves up along the coast. It's still much too early for very specific details. Like, we're not going to call a snow amount based on what's out there because this can change. I'm going to show you how there's still some question. But as we get into this, I want you to know the the Climate Prediction Center, rather, does have as a potential hazard Saturday night into Sunday, heavy snow projected from southern parts of Virginia here, southeast Virginia, down through coastal North Carolina. That's a hazard that the CPC is already identifying for the weekend. Now, as we take a look at the development, I'm showing you two models here, and we use this comparison graphic a lot during the hurricane season to show you how the Euro and the GFS kind of combine or compare. So you look at the American model, that's the GFS, is in yellow, the center is right here, and the European model is in red, it's a little farther offshore. You can see as they move along, here you go, you can see it moving on off this way, the Euro a little farther to the east, the GFS closer to the coast, and both of these really cranking up. So the models, the global models, really confident that an area of low pressure will develop. The question is really going to be how close is it to the coast or how far is it offshore? And those differences will have huge impacts on what we wind up seeing here. That's why it's crazy for me to say, oh, we're going to get this amount of snow or that amount of snow. We don't know yet. We got to see where this low develops, if it does develop, which we believe it will, but where exactly it develops, how far offshore, how it moves along. There are too many questions. If I throw out numbers now, I mean, they could be completely different with the next run 6 hours from now or 12 hours from now. So it's too early to call exactly how much. But you look at the American model, and this is the one that, again, strengthens just offshore, brings in a lot of moisture across the Carolinas, and then a prolonged period of heavier snow Saturday night and into Sunday, and then it continues at moderate to heavy snow early Sunday. By Sunday afternoon, it starts to pull away. More snow along the mid-Atlantic up to the northeast coast, and that low moves off to the northeast after that. That's a look at the U.S. global forecast system. Now let's look at the Euro. Little difference here. You can see that low pressure, though, still forecast to develop. You'll see the low developing right in here. Again, snow timing a little different, maybe starting a little bit earlier. The GFS was starting a little later. But you see how that snow continues to be very likely here in the mid-Atlantic. And there you can see it continues to move off. In this case, it's a little farther to the east and not as much impact for the northeast U.S. We still get it here, but a lot of the heavier stuff probably just off to the east, maybe Cape Cod, Boston, see some of the snow wrapping around that nor'easter as well. So that's how the Euro handles it. Again, this low hasn't even formed yet. And the big question is, as this thing develops somewhere in here, Friday into the weekend, and then it moves along, is it going to be what we call a coast runner, one that runs right up the coast here? If this is the case, that was pretty much what happened over our past weekend here, where the models were producing heavier amounts of snow. That low wound up coming very close to the coast. We had more warm air work into the region. That's why we had more rain in Virginia Beach and coastal North Carolina, and there was snow inland, but the heaviest snow was farther to the west and farther to the north. That's because that winter storm, that low, developed right here very close to the coast. Right now, the models have it in this sweet spot for lots of snow to develop offshore, so cold air is there. It's not bringing in the warm air, but it is bringing in a ton of moisture. This is the position that we're looking at right now. But that's not to say that it's going to be there as we go over the next day or two. You know, the models may push it farther to the west, making it a warmer system with more kind of rain maybe mixing in. Or it could develop farther offshore. And again, you saw the GFS and the Euro. The Euro was trending a little farther to the east. And if it stays farther to the east, it would be farther offshore. We just get a glancing blow, and it might not be too bad. Right now, today, the models are going gangbusters for heavy snow Saturday night into Sunday. So I want to just kind of summarize everything with what we know and what we don't know. Basically, we know that low pressure is expected to develop offshore. All right, very cold air is going to be in place. That is a certainty. We know it's going to be very, very cold through the weekend and into next week. This is a classic setup for heavy snow depending on the track of the low, and small changes in the track, either in the intensity, the timing, or the location of that low, will have big impacts to the weather that we actually get. So what don't we know? Well, we don't know how strong that low is going to become. Models both really intensify both the year on the GFS, and most of our guidance does strengthen this thing, so that's something, but we still are trying to figure out exactly how strong it's going to be when it comes by. The exact timing of precipitation, does it start maybe late Friday night into early Saturday? Does it hold off till late Saturday? Where's that low in the timing of all this? We still have to nail that down. The exact track of the low, that's the big one. Is it farther east or closer to the coast, or does it stay in that sweet spot? And then the extent of the impacts will be kind of a result of how all of this plays out. That's why it is so important to stay tuned over the coming days. We know it's going to stay cold all week. We could see some more single-digit wind chills. And again, that weekend storm, little signals for how it's going to behave, that will unfold over the coming days. That's what we're going to be tracking for you. Right now, clear skies, beautiful sunshine out there, but bitter cold. As I mentioned, temperatures low 20s right now, and it doesn't warm up a lot. With the sunshine, we'll see low to mid 30s this afternoon. For tonight, looking good, mainly clear, a few clouds maybe drifting through from time to time, and there might even be a stray flurry if you do get a few clouds coming off the bay, but nothing to get excited about there. You see that little burst of flurries into the overnight, Wednesday night into Thursday. Generally a decent amount of sunshine for the next few days. We've got the sunshine right now as we check in with the Thompson Creek Window Company. Small craft advisories up for the bay and the ocean. Want to let you know temperatures today low to mid 30s, plenty of sunshine across the south side up to the eastern shore, back over the peninsula, the middle peninsula, and down across North Carolina. Chilly there as well. Overnight tonight, the low near 20, mainly clear. Tomorrow, 33 the high, mostly sunny. Another very cold start to the day, and it gets even colder later in the week. We will, of course, keep you updated for the weekend developments. Be sure and check back with 13 News Now throughout the day, and later tonight we may have a weather impact alert declared for the weekend. I want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to enjoy the Weather Desk. We'll see you next time.